Okay. We are back with part two of chapter one. We're going to be going ahead and picking up where we left off, talking about know your audience, the type of readers. So I don't want to spend too much on this slide because I feel like it is kind of self-explanatory. This pretty much just explains what are the type of readers. You're going to have your managers, you're going to have experts, you're going to have operators, and you're going to have general readers. So it's always important to remember there's usually four groups of readers. First group, managers. Managers are busy managing people, budgets, holding strategy meetings. Always assume if you are writing to a group of managers or your manager, they're probably going to need a refresher. Remember potential obstacles. Managers are usually being interrupted and they want info in ASAP. They're like, wait, what am I reading? Give them a brief introduction. This is what's going on. This is why it's important. And then you go into the nitty gritty stuff. The second group are experts. Experts are anyone with a good understanding of your topic. They might be not even just necessarily well educated, so think scientists or engineers, but they could also have 25 years worth of experience. So they know the ins and the outs of the industry. You might be writing a report, you just graduated, it's your first month of the job, and you are writing to someone with 30 years plus of experience. So most experts need different information. That's when you can really go into the nitty gritty stuff of your industry. These experts are going to need explanations. They're going to need technical details. They want to see data. They want to see figures, tables. They want to know who your sources are, and they probably will want a list of that supporting information. The third group of readers are the operators. Now, just because the first two groups are usually the most important and get the most attention, don't forget about the operators and the general readers. Because operators can be anyone who can put the idea that you're writing about into practice. So let's say you are an HR professional and you are going to be rolling out a new training program, a new training software. You need to release this information to everyone in the company, the operators. They may not be HR professionals, but these are the people who are going to be putting everything into practice. And for general readers, even though they might have the least amount of expert insight, they might be the most impacted by your work. So, for example, if you are writing a report on the environmental impact of a toxic waste dump, homeowners in the surrounding area would be impacted and they need the information the most. So, try to provide for your general readers definitions, explaining bullet points, like really try to simplify the information. But like I said, don't forget about the operators and general readers because they are just as important as the managers and the experts. If I can, there it goes. Okay. So once you know and understand your readers, then you can begin organizing your writing. And I like this chart because this model provides some options for you to consider when planning your report, your memo, whatever you're writing, this can help organize it. Sometimes you can group your readers, as you can see, if you are writing to experts and operators, you know that you need to organize your information for very technical readers. You might be writing to everyone. As you can see, option C, you're going to be writing to experts, operators, managers, and general readers. So you need to make sure the information is accessible and easy to digest for everybody. Maybe you have to write to the entire department, regardless of their level. But organization is going to be so important. So understand your reader, understand what they are going through. Do they have obstacles? What's their expert knowledge? Do they have any knowledge? Once you understand who you are writing for, then you can really start diving into organization because that's going to be so important. And when it comes to technical writing, and this is, you're going to be hearing me repeat this all throughout the semester. always try to follow the ABC method. ABC method, abstract, body, conclusion. It's pretty standard, but sometimes simple and concise is the best method for business writing, especially when you're writing to all different types of readers. So this is where the abstract, it's pretty much your introduction summary. Some reports might require you to draft like an abstract on its own, and then you go into the report. For our class, we'll mainly be using the abstract as your introduction summary. So this is where, remember when I was mentioning earlier, what is this? Why is this important? You're going to have some people who are busy, some people who need a refresher, some people who just want to know, like, what am I reading? Do I need to read this? Is this worth, like, is this about me? Is this for me? That's where you address all those questions in the introduction. Body is what it sounds like. That's where it's going to be the meat of your writing. That's where you're going to provide the information, supporting details. Do you need to add a pie chart? Any type of information that is going to be needed for your readers, that's where it's going to be in the body. And then the conclusion, it just gives readers what they need to do if they need to act. It gives readers a summary. It tells readers what's next, what's going to happen, what to do. When it comes to the principles of organization, there are going to be three core principles to remember. So, most readers use kind of like a speed reading approach. So, they might be looking at the intro and then your closing summaries. Sometimes you might have to use like a recommendation section. You're really going to be doing that when it comes to your project reports. So, some readers only look for the info that applies to them. So they might be looking for headlines or subheadings. Some readers have to constantly come back and finish readings. So, this is where it's going to be so important to organize your writing. You're going to be writing different parts for different readers. You want to emphasize beginnings and ends, and you want to be consistently repeating points throughout your writing. So, for example, a manager who is swamped may only have time to read the summary of, like, okay, what's the most important things that I need to know? Whereas technical experts may skip straight to the technical sections. Same thing for general readers. They're like, wait, what is this? That's where they actually might read the introduction more, your abstract. That's going to be the most important thing. So, when it comes to writing different parts for different readers, make sure you have easy to read sections, have headlines, have bullet points, have lists. Readers might go to those different sections that apply to them. Beginnings and ends. Readers need to see a passage. They are going to ask, where is this going? What am I reading? First sentence, let that first sentence always tell the reader like what they're reading, what's going on. And use the last sentence to kind of reinforce the topic. And that kind of goes into repeating key points. Different readers, different areas of focus. So always make sure you are repeating the key important information in different sections for different readers. So no matter what happens, doesn't matter you are writing to a manager and then the general reader, doesn't matter how busy they are, everyone will be receiving the same message, the same key points, because you are repeating these same key points all throughout different sections. And always be ethical. These are the key points to remember when it comes to ethics and writing. Do no harm. This is especially important for people, let's say, who work in public health and safety. You are describing there might be a possible gas leak in the neighborhood. So always avoid practices that can avoid harm or property. Be concise and simple language. Be direct when it comes to this. So do no harm. Be fair, regardless of differences or your beliefs. Doesn't matter who you come from. Everyone comes from all different walks of life. You should always respect and treat people with respect. So do no harm, be fair, honor. Make sure you are citing your sources. Give credit to other team members if they helped with this project. And of course, follow any relevant copyright and patent laws. That usually comes into play if maybe you are using an image that you downloaded from the internet. Do you actually have the rights to use that image in your work? Respect confidentiality. Always remember that you are acting on behalf of your employer and your clients. So disclose sensitive information only if you have permission. Especially if this is important if you are building a portfolio to showcase your projects. Like you want to secure a new client, so you are showing them their previous work. You need to make sure you have permission to highlight the work that you have created. So, for example, I work in corporate communications. My previous position, I worked at a PR agency. And it was actually in my employee contract that I had to sign any work that I created during my time with this agency is property of that agency. So I was not allowed to showcase that work and other incidences or highlighting it because the agency owned my work. So always remember about intellectual property rights. And just be professional. That is hand in hand with being fair. Just show people with respect. When it comes to your writing, whether you are presenting, always be a professional, always be ethical, be fair. Just, it sounds cheesy, but like be a good person, follow the law, follow the rules, report accurate information because, like I said, you are the expert. People are coming to you for information. You do have an amount of power in your hands. So be careful on how you wield that. And that's it. We are done. I think I went a little over 10 minutes for this, but that's okay. So that is the end of chapter one. If you have any questions, there is a discussion board. You can post your questions. You can email me. You can message me. You know how to get a hold of me, but I will see you in the next video. All right, everyone. Take care.